is that every brother I've lost was in a moment when we were not getting on.
Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees died Sunday after a long battle with cancer.
I'm the last man standing.
You all right?
Yeah.
Robin Gibb spent decades keeping two very different lives alive at the same time. To the world.
So Robin didn't even tell you until...
No. There's a lot of not wanting to say what it is, you know?
He was the unmistakable voice of the Bee Gees and one of the greatest songwriters of all time.
We were from Manchester and we had no fear.
You guys knew you wanted to be stars.
Yeah, we wanted to be famous more than anything.
Behind closed doors, however, he was guarding secrets that would shock even some of the people closest to him. As those secrets slowly came to light, they revealed a side of Robin that millions of fans never knew existed. So what was Robin Gibb really hiding? And why did so much of it stay secret for so long? Join us as we uncover the extraordinary story behind Robin Gibb's double life. Before the complications. Long before the fame, Robin Gibb's story began far more modestly. Born on December 22, 1949, on the Isle of Man, Robin arrived alongside his twin brother, Maurice, while their older brother, Barry, completed the trio that would one day become the Bee Gees. The family wasn't wealthy. Their father, Hugh, found work as a drummer whenever he could, while their mother, Barbara, worked tirelessly to keep the household afloat. Hoping for better opportunities, they emigrated to Australia in 1958, where the three brothers began performing together as teenagers. When they returned to England in 1967, everything changed almost overnight. Songs like New York Mining Disaster, 1941, and Massachusetts turned the Bee Gees into international stars, and Robin's emotional, instantly recognizable voice became one of the group's biggest trademarks. At just 18 years old, he was living the dream most young musicians could only imagine. Then, in a matter of seconds, it nearly all ended. On November 5th, 1967, Robin was aboard the Hastings to London Charing Cross train when it was involved in the Hither Green Rail disaster, one of Britain's deadliest train crashes. 49 people lost their lives. Robin survived. It's impossible to know how different his life might have been if he had boarded another carriage or taken another train that day. But those close to him would later say the experience stayed with him. After coming so close to death before turning 20, Robin seemed to carry a different perspective on life, one that would become even more important as personal challenges began piling up. Just a year later, he married Molly Hullis, a secretary who worked for Bee Gees manager Robert Stigwood. As the band's fame exploded across the world, Robin and Molly welcomed 2 children together and tried to build a family life in the middle of global superstardom. It didn't last. As Robin's career demanded more of his time, he relocated to the United States while Molly remained in England. The distance slowly became impossible to overcome. What had once looked like a solid marriage quietly unraveled behind closed doors. And by the time their divorce was finalized in 1982, the relationship had effectively been over for years. Most fans assumed they knew what happened next. They didn't. Instead of another celebrity romance that quickly made headlines and disappeared, Robin met someone who would become the most important person in his life. She wasn't a pop star, an actress, or someone chasing fame. Yet, over the next 3 decades, she would become his closest confidant, his strongest supporter, and the woman trusted with the parts of his life the public never saw. Her name was Dwina Murphy, and the story of how she entered Robin Gibb's life and the secrets that followed would become one of the most unexpected chapters in the Bee Gees' legend. The Druid Priestess and the Open Marriage. When Robin Gibb met Dwina Murphy in 1980, Few people could have guessed she would become the most important person in his life. She wasn't a singer, an actress, or another celebrity looking to share the spotlight. In many ways, she was Robin's complete opposite, and that may have been exactly why their relationship worked. The two were introduced through one of Dwina's cousins, and their connection developed quickly. Dwina was an Irish writer, artist, and playwright, with interests that made her stand out even in celebrity circles. She openly described herself as a spiritualist and a druid priestess, something that attracted plenty of headlines over the years. To outsiders, it sounded unusual, and some dismissed it as eccentric. But people who knew Dwina said her beliefs were completely genuine. She never treated her spirituality like a publicity stunt or tried to make herself more acceptable to the public. She simply lived the life she believed in. Robin admired that. Their relationship grew stronger, and in 1983, they welcomed their son, Robin John, better known as RJ. 2 years later, in 1985, they made it official, marrying at their historic home, Prebendal Manor, in Teme, Oxfordshire. The medieval estate became the heart of their family life and reflected the incredible success Robin had achieved with the Bee Gees. To the outside world, they appeared to have built a happy and stable life together. But there was one detail about their marriage that fascinated almost everyone who heard about it. Robin and Dwina openly admitted that theirs wasn't a traditional relationship. They described it as an open marriage, one built on honesty rather than strict rules. Dwina also spoke publicly about being bisexual and never felt the need to hide that part of her identity. Instead of pretending to fit society's expectations, the couple insisted their relationship worked because they trusted each other enough to give one another freedom while remaining committed as husband and wife. It was an arrangement that many people struggled to understand. Some critics questioned whether a marriage like that could really last, while others admired the honesty with which they discussed it. Through it all, Robin and Dwina remained remarkably consistent. They rarely contradicted each other in interviews and repeatedly insisted that their relationship was built on loyalty, respect, and genuine love, not on appearances. Even those who looked closely at the Bee Gees' private lives reached a similar conclusion. In 2012, writer and film professor David N. Meyer, who had spent years researching the band for an unauthorized biography, described Robin and Dwina as a very modern family. He acknowledged that their relationship might seem unconventional to many people, but said there was never any doubt about the strength of their bond. According to David, Robin depended on Dwina in ways the public never fully appreciated, and it was obvious that she meant far more to him than headlines ever suggested. For nearly 3 decades, their marriage seemed to prove that unconventional relationships could work. Or at least, that's what everyone believed, because behind the scenes, there were boundaries that even an open marriage wasn't meant to cross. And when Robin crossed one of those boundaries, it triggered a family drama that would remain hidden from the public for years before finally exploding into one of the most shocking stories of his life. What happened in 2008 would reveal a secret that even many of Robin's closest fans never saw coming. Let's reveal the details of what exactly happened. The secret that could not stay hidden. The woman at this center of the storm wasn't another celebrity or someone from the music industry. She was Claire Yang, a housekeeper who worked at the couple's home, Prebendal Manor. Decades younger than Robin, Claire had been part of the household staff before their relationship crossed a line that neither the family nor the public expected. Robin fathered a child with Claire, and in 2009 she gave birth to a daughter named Snow Evelyn Robin Juliet Gibb. When the news became public, it sent shockwaves through the Bee Gees fan base. People immediately asked the same question: how could this happen if Robin and Dwina had always described their marriage as open. The answer was far more complicated than the headlines suggested. Although Robin and Dwina had spoken openly about giving each other freedom, Dwina later made it clear that this was never what she had agreed to. An open marriage, in her eyes, did not mean having a child with someone who lived and worked in their home. Friends said she was devastated. One family friend told the Sunday Mirror that saying Dwina was angry was putting it mildly. She felt deeply betrayed. The public quickly became divided. Some people argued that an open marriage naturally came with unexpected consequences. Others believed Robin had crossed a boundary that existed regardless of the arrangement. Suddenly, a relationship that had once been praised as refreshingly honest became the subject of intense media scrutiny. There was also another issue that couldn't be ignored. Robin's fortune was reportedly worth well over $100 million, and the birth of another child raised obvious questions about inheritance and the future of his estate. Some commentators suggested that money, as much as emotion, was now part of the family's complicated reality. Whether that was fair or not, it became a major talking point as the story unfolded. Robin himself said very little. When asked about Snow, he simply described her as heaven sent and a blessing. He never publicly apologized or explained how the situation had unfolded, leaving fans to wonder what life behind the walls of Prebendal Manor was really like. What surprised people even more was Dwina's response. Despite everything that had happened, she chose not to leave. Years later, when asked why she stayed, her answer was remarkably simple: "Because I loved him." It was a response that revealed just how complicated love can be. Dwina never pretended she wasn't hurt. She openly acknowledged feeling betrayed, yet she also admitted that her love for Robin hadn't disappeared. Somehow, both emotions existed at the same time. Even more remarkably, Snow grew up at Prebendal Manor alongside the family her birth had turned upside down. It couldn't have been an easy situation for anyone involved, yet those close to the family often spoke of the grace and composure Dwina showed during an incredibly difficult chapter of her life. So how did the family hold together through all of this? And what happened when Robin's health collapsed? The woman who stayed at the bedside. Just when it seemed the Gibb family had weathered its biggest personal storm, another one arrived, this time with consequences no one could outrun. In 2010, Robin Gibb was diagnosed with colon cancer. The news came while his family was still trying to move forward after the emotional fallout surrounding the birth of his daughter, Snow. Life at Prebendal Manor had already been complicated, and now everything revolved around one question: could Robin beat the disease? At first, there was reason to hope. Robin underwent treatment and appeared to respond well. He continued working, and for a while it seemed as though he might overcome yet another challenge. In February 2012, he even returned to the stage for what would become his final public performance, a charity concert at London's Palladium in support of injured servicemen and women. Fans watching that night had no idea they were witnessing the last time Robin Gibb would perform live. Behind the scenes, however, the situation was becoming far more serious. The cancer had spread, and by March 2012, Robin's health had deteriorated so dramatically that he was admitted to a London hospital. Then came the update that stunned fans around the world. Robin fell into a coma. As his condition worsened, his family refused to leave his side. Dwina remained with him throughout the ordeal, while Barry Gibb spent hours at his brother's bedside. In one of the most emotional moments of Robin's final days, Barry sang to him, hoping music could reach the brother he could no longer reach through conversation. It was a heartbreaking scene, especially considering everything the brothers had shared over a lifetime of making music together. Then, against all expectations, there was a glimmer of hope. Robin briefly regained consciousness, and reports of his improvement made headlines around the world. For a moment, it looked as though he might pull through. Dwina later revealed that during this period, she played Roy Orbison's classic song, Crying, for him. Robin became emotional and wept as he listened. It was a personal moment that spoke volumes about the emotional weight he was carrying in those final months. Sadly, the recovery didn't last. Robin's condition worsened once again. Alongside the cancer, he developed pneumonia, and together the illnesses became too much for his body to fight. On May 20th, 2012, Robin Gibb died in London at the age of 62. He was laid to rest at St. Mary the Virgin Churchyard in Thame, Oxfordshire, just a short distance from the family home where so much of his life had unfolded. At his funeral, Barry Gibb delivered a tribute that left a few dry eyes. Reflecting on the loss of his younger brother, he said, "Life is too short. In Robin's case, absolutely too short. We should have had 20 years, 30 years more of his magnificent mind and his beautiful heart." Barry also spoke about the bond Robin had shared with their twin brother, Maurice, who died in 2003. "They're finally together," he said. "I think the greatest pain for Robin in the past 10 years was losing his twin brother." Robin's death marked another devastating chapter for the Gibb family. It was the third time their mother, Barbara, had buried one of her sons. First Andy in 1988, then Morris in 2003, and now Robin. While the world mourned a music legend, Barbara was living through a heartbreak few parents could ever imagine, saying goodbye to 3 of her children. Robin's passing brought an end to a remarkable life, but it did not bring an end to the story he left behind. In many ways, some of the most difficult chapters were only just beginning. The legal battle and what came after. When Robin Gibb died in 2012, he didn't just leave behind one of the greatest music catalogs in history. He also left behind a family whose story was far more complicated than most fans ever realized. His estate was reportedly worth around $140 million, built from decades of hit records, songwriting royalties, publishing rights, and investments. But deciding who inherited what wasn't as simple as dividing the money equally. Robin's personal life had become increasingly complex, and so had the questions surrounding his legacy. Robin was survived by 4 children. His eldest son, Spencer, and daughter, Melissa, were from his first marriage to Molly Hullis. His son, Robin John, known as R.J., was born during his marriage to Dwina Murphy. Then there was Snow, the daughter he fathered with Claire Yang while still married to Dwina. Because of those circumstances, there was immediate speculation about how Robin's estate would be divided. Fans and the media wanted answers, especially after the controversy surrounding Snow's birth. But, unlike many celebrity families that end up fighting their battles in court, the Gibbs kept most of those details private. Exactly how the estate was distributed has never been fully disclosed, and the family has largely refused to discuss the financial arrangements in public. The money, however, was only part of the story. More than a decade after Robin's death, Dwina finally began speaking more openly about the betrayal that had changed her marriage forever. Looking back, she admitted that discovering Claire Yang had given birth to Robin's child felt like being stabbed. She acknowledged that their marriage had always allowed each of them a certain amount of freedom, but she insisted there were limits she never imagined would be crossed. Having a child with someone who lived in their home wasn't something she believed their relationship could ever have prepared her for. Many people wondered why she stayed. Her answer never changed. She stayed because she loved him. It wasn't denial, and it wasn't obligation. She simply chose to remain with the man she loved, despite the pain his choices had caused. Years after his death, she also admitted that keeping quiet had become exhausting. For so long, she had protected Robin's privacy. Eventually, she decided she no longer needed to carry the entire story alone. Perhaps her most heartbreaking words came when she described life without him. The bed feels empty. There's a silence now that music can't fill. For someone who had spent decades beside one of the world's greatest musicians, it was a reminder that even music has limits. Some losses cannot be softened by fame, success, or even the songs that made someone immortal. Meanwhile, life has continued for Robin's children. Snow, who was only 3 years old when her father died, has grown into a teenager, carrying both his surname and the legacy of one of music's most famous families. RJ has followed his father's path into music, while Spencer and Melissa have largely chosen lives away from public attention. Dwina, now in her 70s, continues to oversee Robin's legacy from Prebendal Manor, the home they once shared. And every time another Bee Gees song finds a new audience, Robin's voice lives on. Barry Gibb, now the last surviving Bee Gee, carries the memories of all 3 of his brothers. Every performance, every interview, and every tribute serves as another reminder of the family they built together, and of the remarkable legacy Robin left behind. For the public, Robin Gibb will always be remembered as one of the greatest voices in popular music. He spent a lifetime singing about love, heartbreak, and forgiveness. In the end, he experienced all 3 in ways even his biggest fans never imagined. The voice the world knew never changed. But the man behind it carried secrets that only came to light after it was too late to ask him about them. What shocked you the most about Robin Gibb's private life? And do you think Dwina made the right decision by staying with him after everything that happened? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.